Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming out. It is my pleasure to introduce the first of our summer interns that are going to share coffee talks this summer. This is Olyvia Webber. If she looks familiar, that's because she was also an intern with us last summer. So this is actually her second time doing a coffee talk. And she's going to share a presentation on the Grand Army of the Republic and some auxiliary units. And I'll let her kind of explain her talk and topic. So with that, I'll turn it over to Olyvia.
Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about the Grand Army of the Republic and their auxiliary, specifically the WRC. The Grand Army of the Republic was an organization founded in 1866 by Union veterans of the Civil War. It was chartered in Decatur, Illinois on April 6th by Benjamin Franklin Stevenson of Springfield, Illinois. GAR became the preeminent veterans organization to form at the close of the Civil War. To become a member of the Grand Army of the Republic, one had to have served in the United States Army, Navy, or Marine Corps between April 12th of 1861 and April 9th, 1865. Potential members had to be honorably discharged, and they could not have borne arms against the United States of America. Once candidates who met the requirements applied, they had to be voted in by those with standing membership in GAR. Votes were cast using black and white pieces. If even one person voted no and cast a black piece, the applicant would be unable to join the Grand Army. It is from this process that the term being blackballed originated, though this system of voting was not exclusively used by GAR. The organization was formed of different posts. It took a minimum of 10 qualified members to form a post. At the organization's height in 1890, there were over 400,000 reported members. The GAR operated upon three objectives: fraternity, charity, and loyalty. They embodied these characteristics by hosting national, state, and regional encampments and campfires, as well as sponsoring various relief funds such as soldiers' homes and orphanages. By 1890, the Grand Army of the Republic had established soldiers' homes in 16 states and orphanages in 7 states. The Grand Army of the Republic was a strong advocate for not only supporting veterans of the Civil War, but also prominent supporters of preserving the history and the monuments of the Union. One of their most notable contributions to the remembrance of veterans was their influence over the observation of Memorial Day, or as they called it, Decoration Day. After 1879, GAR became a recognized pressure group as they advocated for the support of government pensions for Union veterans. As many as 6 presidents could attribute the success of their presidential campaigns to the GAR. The Grand Army of the Republic also created a number of auxiliaries that worked to aid GAR in establishing and improving veterans' facilities. Of these auxiliaries, the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War was the first to be created in 1881. In 1883, the Women's Relief Corps, or WRC, was founded. The last of the 3 main auxiliaries, the Ladies of the Grand Army of the Republic, was founded in 1896. Other auxiliaries included the Daughters of Union Veterans of the Civil War and the Auxiliary to the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War. Of these organizations, the WRC was the only one to not require members to be related to Union veterans. Despite its impact, the strict requirements to become a GAR member proved to be the organization's downfall. As veterans of the Civil War passed away, no new members were able to join. In 1956, the National GAR office closed, and several posts had disbanded as much as 30 years prior. Because the various GAR auxiliaries had less strict entry requirements, the 5 previously mentioned all still exist in some capacity, and they are operated by the children and grandchildren of Civil War veterans. Pipestone County was home to 3 GAR posts and 3 WRC posts. These posts, as well as those from Windham, Worthington, Jackson, Fulda, Medallia, St. James, Sherburne, Huron Lake, Slayton, Laverne, Blue Earth, Winnebago, Wells, and Fairmont formed the Southwest Minnesota GAR Association. This association held annual encampments which featured bands, baseball, parades, races, fireworks, speakers, picnics, as well as business. The association had their own officers, which were elected at their annual encampments. Annual encampments could also tend to be quite the spirited affair. In the Pipestone County Star from June 27, 1916, there is a warning which states, "Those in charge of the GAR camp at the Courthouse Park wish to give a warning to boys and others not to shoot firecrackers on the campgrounds." Edgerton was the first town to establish a post, which was named the U.S. Grant Post Number 80. U.S. Grant was formed sometime between April and June of 1883. In the April 12th edition of the 1883 Pipestone County Star, there is a small paragraph attempting to get members to join, and the post could have been operational as early as June of that year. Though the post had started to organize, it wasn't officially chartered until May 20th of 1884. 26 members made up the original post. George D. Dodd served as the first post commander, and Henry Hoy was the first adjutant. The post held meetings on every first and third Saturday of the month at 7:30. In June of 1884, U.S. Grant hosted a campfire wherein they invited other posts of the Southwestern Minnesota GAR Association, as well as any ex-soldiers or sailors of the county. There were 1,500 reported visitors, including members of Pipestone, Adrian, and Laverne GAR posts. The Adrian attorney, L.S. Nelson, served as the event's main speaker, and the cornet band from Pipestone also participated. Despite the heavy morning rain, the campfire was a lively get-together that consisted of storytelling, singing, dancing, and feasting. The event didn't end until the sun rose the next morning. Dances were another common way for the Edgerton GAR post to contribute to the community. In 1884, the U.S. Grant Post sponsored 3 dances. The first dance they hosted was a masquerade on February 22nd. This dance turned into an annual event for the post. They also hosted a Thanksgiving dance on November 29th and a New Year's Eve party on the December 31st. At its peak, U.S. Grant had 64 members. On July 12, 1921, the post surrendered its charter to the Department of Minnesota. The second GAR post in Pipestone County was the Simon Mix Post Number 95 of the city of Pipestone. On May 1st of 1884, R.R. Miller created a GAR post with 43 members. The post was originally named the Ed S. McCook Post, but it was soon discovered that the name was already in use by another post. A roster on the May 16th edition of the Pipestone County Star refers to the post by the first name, but the name is changed to Simon Mix by the June 17th paper. The post was then named after Colonel Simon Mix, a member of the 3rd New York Cavalry. The first officers of the post were John Pearson as the commander, Riley French as the senior vice commander, and M.J. Eastland as the junior vice commander. Other officer positions included a surgeon, chaplain, officer of the guard, adjutant, quartermaster, and quartermaster sergeant. The meetings for Simon Mix Post were held on the first Wednesday of the month at 1 p.m. The post first met on the second floor of the Charles Bennett Building on 2nd Street Northeast, on what was then called Centennial Street. Monthly meetings of both the GAR and the WRC posts were held in adjoining rooms that were decorated with pictures, banners, flags, and other memorabilia. They later built their own building on Main Street, which was in use until 1903, when the post moved into the rooms in the basement of the new Pipestone County Courthouse. Prominent members of the community, such as C.H. Bennett and Daniel Sweet, were members of this GAR chapter. Bennett served not only as a local post officer, but he also served at the department level. In 1914, he served as judge advocate of the Department of Minnesota, and in 1920, he served as the junior vice commander of the Department of Minnesota. For many years, the Simon Mix Post Number 95 was ranked the highest in membership and influence in southwestern Minnesota. Pipestone hosted the annual encampment of the Southwestern Minnesota GAR Association at least 6 times. They hosted the encampment in 1886, 1893, 1907, 1916, 1919, and 1926. The 1886 encampment was called Camp Fremont in honor of General John C. Fremont. Over 10,000 visitors came to Pipestone to attend the encampment. It was held at what was now the Pipestone National Monument. The event was such a big success that the Burlington Railroad built a track to the camp and ran a round trip from Pipestone to Camp Fremont every 30 minutes. Directly under the quarry ledge, they placed 4 large tents for the organization headquarters. The camp consisted of over 150 tents. Entertainment included dancing, concerts, minstrel troops, a circus, horse races, and much more. After 50 years, Simon Mix Post number 95 surrendered its charter on May 1st of 1934. The post closed with only 2 members, James Hendren of Woodstock and Warrington B. Brown. It was because of the sole efforts of W.B. Brown that the post remained operational for as long as it did. Hendren had not been able to attend meetings for a long time, so Brown continued to hold regular meetings with only himself in attendance. He called the sessions to order, conducted business that was at hand, and adjourned. Brown had declared several years earlier that he was determined to keep the organization active until it had rounded a full half-century. In that, he succeeded. The Simon Mix Post of the GAR closed exactly 50 years to the day that it was opened. W.B. Brown passed away in 1937, and James Hendren had died 3 years earlier on May 18th of 1934. The last post of the Grand Army of the Republic in Pipestone County was Stephen Miller, post number 139 of Woodstock. With 22 members, the post was mustered on May 21st, 1885. The post was named after Colonel Stephen Miller. He was elected governor of Minnesota in November of 1863, and he served until January of 1866. As the years went by, the membership of the post kept declining. By 1920, there were only 4 members in the post. The last 2 members transferred to the Simon Mix Post in 1923, and the post was disbanded. Alongside the GAR, the WRC worked to perpetuate the memory of those who served in the Civil War and to provide aid to veterans, their widows, and their orphans. The first WRC post in Pipestone County was Simon Mix Corps No. 12. Consisting of 16 members, the Corps was formed on November 4th of 1885. Membership peaked in 1924 with 142 members. Most members were wives, daughters, or granddaughters of GAR members. When the GAR post closed, the Simon Mix WRC received the flags, pictures, and chairs belonging to the post. The WRC organized ceremonies, programs, and even presented speeches and read poems at Grand Army of the Republic meetings. On Memorial Day, May 30th, 1886, the Women's Relief Corps presented the GAR post with a silk banner said to be one of the finest in the state. They were also active in charity work, with several Simon Mix members being part of the various committees in the Department of Minnesota. I have found 3 different letters detailing other charity work done by the Simon Mix Corps Post No. 12. One letter from 1960, sent by the chairman of the Soldiers' Home Committee, outlines the specific items to be made and donated to the Soldiers' Home. Some of these items include napkins, hospital gowns, chair backs, and cushion covers. Another letter, dated to November 21st of 1956, details a donation made by the Corps to the Soldiers' Home. The donation consists of canned fruits, vegetables, and jams. The last letter, dated with December 21st, 1928, was sent to the Women's Relief Corps from Winifred Bartlett on behalf of the Pipestone Public Library Board, expressing thanks for an American flag that the Corps donated. The Corps operated until at least July 6th of 1970, which was the last meeting date in a notebook of secretary reports. There were 6 members reported in attendance. Because there were so few of them, the Women's Relief Corps members decided that they would meet whenever it was convenient for whoever wanted to have it. A slip dating to July 2nd of 1973 suggests that the Corps didn't close until sometime after that date. The slip reads, "Received from Gertrude Feltman, $3.80 balance of past presidents of the WRC, funds to be sent to Old Soldiers Home in St. Paul, Edna Rossler." The amount would be equal to around $28.68 in today's money. Edgerton also had a WRC post. The U.S. Grant, Corps No. 13, was founded on March 8, 1889, with 25 members. In the March 15th edition of the Pipestone County Star, there is a small paragraph announcing the installment of new officers. The installation was performed by Miss C.H. Bennett of the Simon Mix WRC post. A blurb from the February 14, 1901 Edgerton Enterprise announced that the WRC will give a patriotic entertainment on their anniversary of March 8th. In April of 1910, the WRC erected a monument to the unknown dead of the Civil War in Edgerton Cemetery. The April 14th edition of the Edgerton Enterprise details the donation. 8 years later, the WRC post procured a service flag for soldiers who fought in World War I. They presented it at the Presbyterian Church on April 28th. I couldn't find any official records of when this post closed. The U.S. Grant WRC Corps 13 appears in the 1932 Journal of the 48th Annual Convention of the Department of Minnesota Women's Relief Corps. They are then absent from the Corps roster in the 1937 journal. Jasper was home to the last WRC Corps in Pipestone County. Though they never housed a Grand Army of the Republic post, the Corps was organized on June 13th of 1910 with 16 members. It was named McKinley Relief Corps No. 61. Like other WRC Corps, the McKinley Corps organized and participated in Memorial Day festivities, made contributions to soldiers' homes, and did other acts of charity. Similarly to the U.S. Grant Relief Corps, the McKinley Corps appears in the journal from 1932 and disappears by the 1937 journal. Tracking mentions of the WRC in the Jasper Journal newspaper, we can estimate that the Corps closed sometime before June of 1934. In the June 21, 1934 edition of the Jasper Journal, we can see that 4 ladies went to Laverne to attend a WRC meeting. While Woodstock didn't have a Women's Relief Corps, they did have a Ladies of the Grand Army of the Republic post, which they often referred to as the Circle. The post was chartered on February 28, 1898, and consisted of 17 members who were close relatives of GAR members. Due to the small size and tight-knit nature of the group, the organization didn't last long before it started to fizzle out. In both the GAR and WRC, several members of Pipestone County served in officer or committee positions for the Department of Minnesota. From 1888 to 1889, Henry Wilson served as the medical director. C.C. Goodnow served as chief mustering officer from 1890 to 1891. W.J. Taylor served 3 terms as medical director in 1892, 1919, and 1920. In 1920, Robert Scarf served on the Council of Administration, and Charles Bennett served as judge advocate in 1914, and he served as junior vice commander in 1920. In the WRC, Mary McCown served as the junior vice president in 1937, the senior vice president in 1938, and as chaplain in 1940. From 1960 to 1961, Grace Thorndike served on the membership committee, and both Lois Totman and Minnie Grove served on the Soldiers' Home Committee from 1960 to 1962. Membership could often be a problem for both the GAR and the WRC. While the Grand Army of the Republic was always destined to fade away due to the service dates required for membership, the WRC could also face problems. Though there weren't the same restrictions for membership, As time passed, they ran the risk of younger generations not resonating with the message and purpose of the organization. Using encampment journals, department rosters, and membership counts in treasury reports, I made graphs charting the membership of the GAR and WRC posts of Pipestone County. The graphs do, however, lack information from the late 1800s when the posts were founded. Though the data is not complete, it still gives us an idea of the membership of the posts. The graphs for the GAR show the slow decline in membership that each of the posts experienced. Each post closed with 5 members or fewer, with both Stephen Miller and Simon Mix closing with 2 members, and the U.S. Grant closing with 5. The WRC graphs show how the corps grew in membership, with each corps reaching its peak in the mid-1920s before leveling off or starting to decline. Simon Mix had its highest membership in 1924, McKinley hit its peak in 1925, and U.S. Grant reached its highest point in 1928. In the Simon Mix WRC graph, we can compare the number of members reported on the department rosters to the number of members listed in the Corps secretary reports. The number of members from the secretary reports, shown in orange, is less than half of the members recorded in the rosters. The Grand Army of the Republic and the Women's Relief Corps were very influential parts of society. Each organization contributed greatly to the progression of society and the remembrance of the Civil War. It is because of them that some of our modern traditions, such as how we celebrate Memorial Day and how we remember the Civil War, exist. That's what I got.
Do you think that part of the reason they went down was because it was during the Depression, so people...
Possibly. Specifically for WRC and GAR, it was unfortunate as all the veterans kept passing away and no new members could join due to the service dates were needed for membership. But the Depression could have greatly played a part in the WRC membership.
Olivia, what was their specific mission and goal? Just to remember the Civil War and veterans, or did they have another mission?
Their main mission was the remembrance and the support, as we can see later with their advocation for the pensions that they received from the government. And it was mainly about supporting veterans, their widows and orphans, as well as making sure that the Union side of history was told and maintained and didn't get mistold or misremembered and forgotten.
Earlier in your presentation, you called them a pressure group. Would that be like a lobbyist today, trying to get Congress to do something?
I believe so. They were very important in making sure that any veteran of any war got pensions from the government. And if any politicians wanted to be around for long term, they had to make certain appeals to the GAR to gain their support. Otherwise, they wouldn't last long in certain fields.
No, they made chair cushions or covers and all that stuff, and that was for retired military. That was in the cities, right? Was that the only one that was there then?
I couldn't find any records of what different soldiers' homes there were. There was at least that one in St. Paul that they made different donations to, both with the chairbacks and covers, and then what was later referenced in the slip where the WRC funds would be donated to. So there were likely more in different areas, but I've not come across anything saying where they were.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.